All these screaming fans here in Chicago, you can see it. This is the reason why wrestling is where it's at. Wrestling. This man has held 6 different belts. The only team to win all 3 major belts. The Crockett Cup. This man's a legend in his
How am I not going to like this guy, right? He knows everything.
Now, I want to ask you one question. Welcome to another edition of Wrestling Resource Television. I'm your host, P.L. Myers. We're here at the Odeum in Villa Park. Yes, you're thinking EC Dub, EC Dub, EC Dub. No, we're here for TNA. Total nonstop action. And the next half hour, we are jam-packed with all the great stars from TNA Superstars. So sit back for another edition as Wrestling Resource Television, the only source for you, the fans, with all the great interviews for you here on Wrestling Resource Television. Welcome back to Wrestling Resource Television. I'm your host, P.L. Myers. We're here with Shark Boy, who's had a stellar career on the independents, stellar career now in TNA. Tell me your thoughts coming to Chicago, back at Chicago, here at the Odeum.
Well, it's like this. I'm no stranger to Chicago, but it's been a little while since I've wrestled here, so it's good to be back. It feels a lot like I'm coming home, and I'm sure I'm going to have a good time out there tonight.
The legions of fans that you have from your career, in TNA, and this image and outlook that you have now. When you first started, did you ever imagine this level that you're at now?
Well, I mean, everybody imagines it, everybody hopes for it, but did I expect it? Not necessarily. In some ways, I feel like I've overachieved for a man of my stature to be able to make it to the big league, so to speak, and it's just been a real thrill, and I feel like I'm living my dream. I feel like the luckiest guy in the world.
When you started your career, what were your thoughts going through your mind as far as, everything that has happened?
Looking back on everything, like I said, I just feel like I'm lucky to have done everything that I've done, and I've been, all over the world, and I've wrestled opponents from all over the world and just had a great time doing it.
And when you started, your style is so unique, high flying and stuff. What was your going through your first time when you signed up to be a professional wrestler? That bump for the first time. Sure. What went through your mind?
To be honest, man, it was a thrill. It was just an absolute thrill to finally get in there and actually do what I'd been dreaming of doing for years. I mean, I didn't feel any pain, that's for sure. It felt great. Felt like this is what I was born to do.
We've asked many of the wrestlers here tonight. You remember your first match and who it was against?
I do. It's in 1997 against GQ Masters III. Okay. And the son of a bitch put his feet on the ropes and pinned me. Yeah.
And you've seen so many changes in wrestling. What's the change that you've seen, the biggest change you've seen?
Well, I mean, there's been different, the 80s was sort of its own kind of thing, Hulkamania and WrestleMania and all that. And In the 90s, it was sort of the Attitude Era and the Monday Night Wars, and now you've got the product with, TNA with a six-sided ring and the X Division, the excitement that's there. I think, the business, it changes all the time. It's all the time going through changes,
And what was your thoughts when you saw these figures that are coming out, Shark Boy figures?
Fantastic. I'm excited. That's truly one of those goals that I had was get an action figure, get on a video game, wrestle around the world. I mean, it's like one by one, I'm checking them off and just having a great time doing it. So,
what are your upcoming goals for TNA?
TNA, I would really like to get, back into the mix and work my way into a title situation, a title shot, without a doubt.
Well, we've seen so many different levels, you've been wrestling at. When fans come to you and say, hey, I want to get involved in professional wrestling, what do you say to them?
Run. Don't do it. No, it's the hardest thing.
The Arn Anderson approach, I see.
Yeah, it's the hardest thing in the world, man. It really is. I mean, everybody sees it, watches it on TV, and thinks, I could do that. But, it's a lot harder when you actually go out there and try to do it. It really is.
What, with all the matches that you've had and stuff, what are some of the injuries that you've had?
Oh, everything. Both my rotator cuffs, I've blown out my knee, just, a lot of aches and pains in the neck and elbows and joints, I mean, that's, I've been lucky enough, knock on wood, not to have any broken bones up till now, so.
When you came to TNA and now you're here at TNA for a while, what makes TNA special is from your perspective, as far as we met Dixie and a really great person, hands-on, and not many owners are really hands-on, but for you, what do you see when you see the inner workings of TNA?
It's kind of a big league with sort of a little, like a close-up and personal feel to it. You get to go and see these big league stars in the ring, and then afterwards, a lot of times we come out and shake hands and sign autographs, so it's really intimate and personal with the fans. That's what I think is really unique about TNA.
And with all the ups and downs of the world of professional wrestling, as you know, on the road, miss certain things. But what keeps you motivated and keeps going?
Just the love and the passion I still have for the business. I mean, if you don't have that, if that's not still running through your veins, then you're not gonna stick it out. You're not gonna keep doing it because it's it can be tough. Being away from family and things like that can be tough. And there's times you don't feel like getting out of bed, but you got to be on the plane.
When you're not wrestling, what do you like to do for fun?
Like I said, I was talking about family. I have a little boy, and he tells me what's fun. I do whatever he says at that, when I'm home. So, he's a cool kid, man. He's into playing guitar and likes sports and wrestling and everything. So, I mean, that's how I spend my free time.
What's his thought when he sees his dad? It's Shark Boy, my dad, Shark Boy.
For a long time, I think he felt like everybody's dad did what I do, and it didn't really mean a whole lot. But now I think he's starting to get it. He's getting a little older now, and he realizes that not everybody's dad. A lot of dads put on a suit and tie and go to work 9 to 5 every day, and that's not what his dad does.
Well, wish you nothing but success. You've always been a class act. When we met you in Chicago, down to UIC Pavilion here, and we know at the Fan Fest back when they were Bound for Glory in Chicago, you had legions of fans, little girls and everything. What goes through your mind when you see that?
It blows my mind. That's probably the coolest thing. It's just seeing how the kids react to it and how they connect with it, and that's probably my favorite thing about doing this still.
Cool. Well, Shark Boy, we wish you nothing but best. Have a great match tonight and enjoy the road trip through Chicago. And we'll be right back with more of Wrestling Resource Television.
Hey, this is Kip James, and you're watching Wrestling Resources TV.
Welcome back to Wrestling Resource Television. It's my pleasure to be with the Sheik. First of all, welcome back to Chicago. We talked to you at the Fan Fest. What's your thoughts of coming to Chicago? And tell us about your partner.
I'm here with Kiyoshi. He's from Tokyo, Japan. He's one of the newest acquisitions to World Elite in TNA Wrestling. And we're looking forward to going after a tag team title run. Right now it's held by the British Invasion, but the IWGP titles, the Japanese New Japan titles, belong to Team 3D. And as a veteran from Japan and my tag partner, I think that's where we're going to set our sights and make sure we're going to grab them.
We're looking forward to seeing your match and seeing what your partner brings, because we've been talking to all the tag teams. What made it special to pick him as your partner?
What makes Kiyoshi special is he's internationally influenced. He understands American wrestling, he understands Japanese wrestling, and along with the rest of World Elite, we're able to make a melting pot of different wrestling styles and contribute to one another. I've learned so much from him about the Japanese style of wrestling. He's learned from me about the American and Middle Eastern style of wrestling, and together we're able to make a hybrid unit that's an intangible that other teams, which are only versed in one style of wrestling, can't compete with.
And we've seen you travel all over the world, wrestling in Chicago, wrestling in WWE, and here in TNA. What makes TNA so special for you? Because you've been around the world.
I like TNA because it seems to have a younger youth movement. The average age of our wrestlers is a lot younger than a lot of different promotions you'll find. And with that, you're able to bring a different level of athleticism to the show. So I think the competition here for a guy my age, we're both in our mid to late 20s, we're able to compete with more people in our league and able to do more athletically than you would be able to elsewhere with an older average, not audience, but average age of the competitors.
With all the different competitors from Beer Money to British Invasion to, all these other tag teams, Constant Concrete, what makes them different, as far as what you look at them as your competition?
Well, everybody has a different style. Of course, Beer Money's heavier. They move a little bit slower, so it's easier for us to pick them apart piece by piece. Lethal Consequences, they're about the same size as us, and they move a lot quicker, so sometimes it's a lot easier to catch them in one of their mistakes and capitalize on that opportunity. Same with Team 3D. Team 3D is a lot older than us. They've taken a lot more bumps and bruises over the years, so that's an endurance game where we're able to wear them down, wear them out, and then capitalize when the opportunity arises for myself and for Kiyoshi.
Yeah, and what's interesting tonight is that you guys are wrestling tonight?
Tonight we're actually wrestling Lethal Consequences in an exhibition bout. It's not a number one contendership or anything, so we're hoping to go out there and entertain the fans, our ticket buying fans, and show them that we can provide the best wrestling show in the state of Illinois.
With both your styles, how does that six-sided ring, does it affect your match sometimes?
It's never affected me. My first match in TNA was the first time I've ever been in a six-sided ring, and it was kind of one of those things where I didn't think about it, and it never became an issue. I think if I did put focus into it or get in the ring earlier and try running around, I might have confused myself more necessarily than I need to. It's still the same structure. There's a turnbuckle and there's the ropes. Try and hit one and don't try and hit the other.
With both your great fan bases, all over the world, when you have fans come to you that want to get in this business that you've made your profession, what advice do you give them?
I have a plan B actually your plan B should be your plan A and wrestling should be your plan B. There's nothing more important than making sure you get your education out of the way, because if you I have met wrestlers from all over the world that are trying to do this, and the percentage of making money or making it in this industry is so small, you'd be luckier trying to go to Hollywood trying to become an actor.
And with the success that you've had, and I know the success you've had, when you see yourself on action sphere of a video game, what goes through your mind?
Just lucky to be in the right place at the right time. That's what separates successful people from those that weren't. You just happen to be in the right place at the right time, the planets were aligned, and luckily things worked out for me and Kiyoshi.
Now, with all your fans in Chicago, will we see the return of the flying carpet?
I would love to. If I knew it was in such popular demand, I would have brought it with me, but unfortunately it's at home, so maybe not tonight, but I'll make sure to throw it in my bag.
Because I'm just letting you know, as all your fans from Chicago and in LaSalle, Jay Repsel from Dreamwave Wrestling, I know they're all saying, where's the flying carpet?
Maybe one day. I think maybe one day when I become a fan favorite, it might be something I might dig out of the back of the closet.
Well, all you know is that I've had the pleasure of working with you, and he's a great partner and a great guy, and you know what? We're glad you're in TNA, and we're looking for nothing but success for you here at the Odeum and the coming up pay-per-view. Have they decided who they're going to have you guys wrestle yet?
We don't know yet. We're only into week 1 of television, so we got 3 more weeks of TV to set it up, but something that's awesome about a TNA pay-per-view is unlike any other sporting event or any other show, you're guaranteed that your 3 hours is going to be entertaining. I've seen a lot of boring baseball games and a lot of boring football games this season, so that's something that you can tune in to see, and you can promise you can set 3 hours aside for some good action.
Well, I hope you enjoy this weekend. We look forward to seeing you at the pay-per-view, and nothing but success to both of you gentlemen. And we'll be right back with more Wrestling Resource Television. Cool. All right, thank you very much.
Hey, when Bill Alfonso, Daddy, when he's in the Chicago area, I watch Wrestling Resource TV.
Welcome back to Wrestling Resource Television. It's my honor and pleasure to be talking to Elliot Harris of the Chicago Sun-Times, who I pay very well because when I see my name in there, they go, how did you get your name in the paper? First of all, it's nice seeing you.
Good to see you again.
And for you, what goes through your mind? You're going to be going out to the ring with ODB.
I'm just glad I don't have to fight her because, I'd end up all bruised and battered. But it's an honor. She's been around a while and quite a character, so I think it'll be fun.
When you see, for the fans out there that read your column with all the beautiful women and the sports, how long have you been involved in the newspaper industry?
Oh, before you were born, let's put it that way. I've been at the Sun-Times since '79. I've been writing the Quick Hits column since '98, and it's fun. I didn't know you could have that much fun and call it a job.
When you were growing up, did you know you wanted to be involved in the newspaper business?
No, I didn't. I wanted to be a cowboy or something like that. I went off to college, thought I'd take a course in accounting because my father had been an accountant. That wasn't it. I liked writing. I liked sports. I was at the University of Missouri, which still has a good journalism school, and things worked out.
With all your success, what's the biggest change that you've seen in the newspaper industry?
A lot of it on the technological side. They don't have hot type anymore. Now everything's computerized. So that's changed a lot. The coverage, when I started off in newspapers, there was nothing like the column that I do. I couldn't even imagine it, a quick hits column that we do now. There's a lot more attention paid to off the field, a lot more attention paid to celebrity, and it's not all just nuts and bolts.
And with all the feedback you've been getting back, with your, with Anna Kournikova, how did that love affair come about?
Very naturally, very harmlessly. An attractive young woman, a pretty good tennis player too back in the day, and running her picture seemed like a no-brainer, and since I have no brain, it worked out perfectly. And over time, it sort of took on a life of its own, and I had the opportunity to meet her a few years ago, and it seemed like she's either a really nice person or a really good actress. She came across very natural, and it was fun meeting her. Then she was in town last December and got to say hi to her again. So,
well, all I know is that with all the fans that you've had, with all these beautiful women that you show and stuff, what's been the feedback you get?
I'd say it's been overwhelmingly positive. Every once in a while I'll get a complaint here or there, but for the most part, it's all good.
Now, what do you like to do for fun when you're not doing quick hits?
I have the feeling that I'm doing quick hits 24/7, so I don't ever have the feeling that I'm not. It's like, okay, when I'm not working and I'm at an event like a wrestling match or a basketball game, or I'm sitting in front of the TV, is that work or not work? I'm not really sure. So I'll go to a movie every once in a while, watch a little TV.
When you have people that do come up to you and want to get involved in the newspaper business, what advice do you give them?
Other than they ought to find a different career, have a decent background, first of all, in English, and have a broad background so that you're able to talk about a variety of topics. So you can do more than just tell me the top 5 seasons of Michael Jordan in terms of points, rebounds, assists, things like that. So, get an education, I think, is first and foremost all that.
Well, all I know is that we look forward to seeing you at every wrestling event and also at PCW events with the beautiful people and Roddy Piper and Ric Flair. I mean, you made PCW and all these wrestlers celebrities, and we look forward to seeing you at every the PCW events and look forward to reading the Quick Hits column at the Sun-Times. And good luck tonight with ODB. And
well, thank you. I'll need it.
The only advice I can give you is let her do what she's got to do and just cheer as much as you can for her.
I'll do that. I'll stay out of the way.
Carry the extra flats because I know she likes to drink.
I asked her about that. She said, "Oh yeah, I have plenty of them."
Okay. Well, we're right back with more Wrestling Resource Television. Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is your Dreamwave World Champion, Austin Roberts, and you're watching Wrestling Resource with P.L. Myers.
Welcome back to Wrestling Resource Television. It's my honor to talk to the TNA Heavyweight Champion of the world, AJ Styles, the phenomenal one. First of all, welcome back to Chicago.
Thank you.
What goes through your minds as the heavyweight champion? You are the man here.
I don't know. Maybe it really hasn't sunk in yet what a heavyweight champion's supposed to do, because I kind of still feel like myself, but then before I go out to wrestle, I got to look in the mirror and go, you're world heavyweight champion, dude. It's time to step it up and go to work, So it's a little shock still.
Well, you have had many fans in Chicago, and I'm one of your fans because when they started TNA, guys like Jerry Lynn, yourself, this is one guy that it seemed like, no offense to TNA, they always kind of kept you down because it's like they brought in guys, but your company, TNA has been built on you, Samoa Joe, the guys that, the heart and soul of the independents to the new level, and it just seemed like they kept pushing you down. Did you ever feel that way sometimes a little bit?
I just went to the ring and do what I do best. That's get out in that ring. Whether or not some say they may have held me down or whatever. I didn't look at it that way. I looked like I had an opportunity to go out there and do what I love to do for a living.
Well, you've had some great matches. They're talking about, the next pay-per-view, possibly doing a 3-way dance. They talked about almost to the same level you did in 2005, you, Daniels, I mean, even Kurt, what's your thoughts about even a possible three-way dance?
Well, I can tell you right now, it's been announced. It's happening. Me, Samoa Joe, and Christopher Daniels are going back at it again. We're going to bring back that classic match that we had in 2005, and hopefully we can top it.
And when you started in wrestling, what was your first match? Do you remember your first match?
My first match, I was Mr. Olympia. I wore a mask against a guy named Michael Brooks. I lost, which I was totally fine with, but the fact that I got to get in the ring and experience what it's like to be a professional wrestler, it was pretty awesome.
And when you look at all those matches that you've had, you really stepped up your A game when you come to TNA. The world has got, now you got action figures, video games. When you step back as AJ Styles, what goes through your mind when you see all the success you've had?
I step back. When I step back far enough, I end up at my house with my kids. And so, I'm a dad, and I don't realize it until my little ones are playing with AJ Styles in the bathtub and calling him Daddy instead of AJ Styles. So, I try to just be as humble as I can possibly be, man. That's the most important thing, is that be an approachable guy, not let any of this kind of fame get to your head, and just experience what's going on and not get caught up in it.
You've been around the world, promoting TNA. But what inside TNA? We've met Dixie Carr, a great promoter. She's out there with the fans and everything. What makes TNA special for you?
I think it's the wrestlers. We've got the best wrestlers in the world, bar none. We're second to no one. We can do stuff that, they may not even allow them to do in the other company, or they just can't do. So I think that we're special because we've got a great group of guys that are willing to go out there and make sure the fans are entertained.
And when you have all the fans come to you at the fan fest and all over the world, they go, AJ, I want to be a wrestler. What advice do you give them? Because, they look to you because you've had such a phenomenal career.
Well, I think it's all about experience, for one thing. It's not going to happen overnight. You're not going to get that opportunity overnight. You're not going to get paid overnight. But always have a backup plan. I think that's the most important thing. If someone asks me, hey, would you let your kids wrestle? I'll say, yeah, after they finish college, I'll train them. But just after they finish college.
When you look at all these matches that you had, besides that match in 2005, have there been other matches that have stand out in your career?
I think Kurt Angle and I have had some pretty good matches. Jerry Lynn and Low Key. I mean, there's so many that I don't know if I can name them all. I've had some really good matches, and I'm looking forward to many more with people like Doug Williams and other guys like that. I think there's a lot more to come.
When you're not on TNA and house shows, what else do you like to do for fun? I know you have your kids and stuff. What else do you like to do for fun?
I think if anybody knows anything about AJ Styles, they know he loves to play video games.
Okay.
So, I'm the biggest kid in my house. I do have a video game addiction problem. I do play a lot of them, and it does piss my wife off, but there are worse things in video games. So.
Now, I'm guessing besides the TNA video game, what else do you like to be playing?
Definitely Call of Duty is one of my favorites, and I'm Madden and NCAA football kind of guy, so play a lot of that. It's ridiculous.
Now, do you also have time to watch some of the other, college sports and football when you're on the road?
Sure, I definitely watch. I'm a Georgia Bulldog fan, and it's hard to swallow this year because they're not doing so well. But I do love watching college football. I played football, and so it's in my blood.
Well, at least Kevin Butler will like you because he was a Georgia Bulldog.
Yeah, I'll always have Kevin Butler and Herschel Walker. So, but I'm a Bulldog through and through. But it's like I said, I'm wearing my Falcons hat today.
Okay. With all the success you've had, with the TNA and all these matches you had, what the injuries? How have you been able to fight off these injuries?
I'm not. Injuries are injuries. I think it's one thing, being hurt and injured. I've been hurt a lot, but if I can stay away from being injured, I think I'll be all right. But my time's coming. You can't avoid it.
Well, we appreciate your time. One last question. What keeps you motivated? Because the ups and downs of being a wrestler, being ups and downs, being a dad. What keeps you motivated?
It's just, I think that's what you said. It's being a dad. That keeps me motivated enough that I need to go out here and be the best performer that I can possibly be. At the end of the day, I got 3 kids I've got to support, and a married man. It's my job to put the bread on the table. So that's exactly what I intend to do.
All I know, it's been an honor and pleasure being a fan of you since day one in TNA, and it's great to see you as heavyweight champion. Because if there's one guy that deserves that belt around his waist for everything you've done, it's AJ Styles. I've been your host, P.L. Myers. We'll be right back with more Wrestling Resource Television.
This is the phenomenal one, AJ Styles, and you're watching Wrestling Resource TV.
Well, there you have it, fans. Another great edition of Wrestling Resource Television. I'm your host, P.L. Myers. We like to thank the people from TNA, all our guests. We also like to thank Ross Foreman. We also like to thank Craig from the TNA PR staff, and you, the fans, for watching Wrestling Resource Television. I'm your host, P.L. Myers. If you have any questions, just email me, and we'll get your answers here on the air for you. Once again, I've been your host, P.L. Myers. We'll see you next time here on Wrestling Resource Television.
One other thing that you've been so part of was ECW. You know how magical it was. What made ECW so special?
Oh man, that was a time that it was like a close-knit family of people who wanted to put 1,000,000% in everything they do to make it work, and everybody was friends. There was just like I don't know. It was. You can't even describe it. But let me tell you, it's not the same ECW now. It's nothing like it. It was a unique group of people that all contributed something different to the show, and it worked. It clicked. Like I said, everybody put 1,000,000% into their matches, into their promos. That's where a lot of people really started to develop, and not only their characters, but their talents in the ring and out of the ring. And I was just, with a cult following of fans, it was just nothing was like it. It was just, working an ECW show was nothing like anything else. I mean, it's amazing to work in Madison Square Garden, it's amazing to work at WrestleMania, but for some reason those ECW fans just put it over the top. They were, 1 in a million.
And we asked Fonzie, going on the road with a lot of guys, Sandman, talking to the different guys, but what, in your opinion, what do you think went wrong with ECW? Because it was such lightning in a bottle, it could have really taken off. It was really contending with Vince and WCW at the time.
I think Paul Heyman was spending a lot more money than they were making, and that was the biggest downfall. Because eventually checks started bouncing. He was paying everybody in the company a ridiculous amount of money for a little company like that. I mean, even when he told me I was going to get paid, I'm like, you can afford that? He's like, yeah, no problem. Then I find out what Taz is getting and Tommy's getting and everybody's getting, and I'm like, wait a minute, we're not drawing 20,000 people houses, and we're not working 25,000 seat buildings. We're working 2,000 or 800. I'm like, how is he making the money that he's paying out? Eventually, it ran out. He was making a lot more money. He had some money from sponsors somehow that I guess he was paying everyone, but eventually things started bouncing, and when there's no money to pay, guess what? There's no business. So.
This man has held 6 different belts. The only team to win all 3 major belts. The Crockett Cup. This man's a legend in his
How am I not going to like this guy, right? He knows everything.
Now, I want to ask you one question.